in week one between the Bengals and the Vikings. Jeff, we're finally back. How eager, how excited are you to finally get things rolling in 2021?
Oh, it's great. It's finally, isn't it great, Marissa? We've been writing and talking about this for so long. It's almost hard to believe it's here, but it's great to be able to put scores and plays and quotes, with things that actually
Mhm.
happen.
It absolutely is. I'll roll through really quickly the Bengals inactives against Minnesota this afternoon. We have cornerbacks Trey Waynes, Nick McLeod, guard Deontay Smith, offensive tackle Fred Johnson, and defensive tackle Tyler Shelvin. They will all be inactive against the Vikings here today. Jeff, when you take a look at that list, I mean, I think Fred Johnson was the biggest one that kind of stood out to me. Were you surprised at all by that?
Yeah, just in the sense, Fred's made 11 starts in the last 2 years, and Isaiah Prince, I guess he'll be making his debut. He'll be in on special teams. That will be the first time he's appeared for the Bengals. But you know what, Marissa, Prince had a really good preseason. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
thought Fred had a good one too, but I mean, like Isaiah played both right and left, as did Fred. But they didn't. I mean, Isaiah didn't let anybody get near the quarterback. And I really a really impressive preseason. You can only dress eight. So
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting though that they did go with the new guy in
That's
Prince.
right. So that means Isaiah Prince, rookies Trey Hill, and Jackson Carman are all going to be active for the Bengals this afternoon. Another guy that's going to be active that fans have been so eager to see back out there, Joe Burrow, as he is going to be making his return this afternoon, week one, coming off of that ACL surgery. Jeff, what are your expectations for Burrow today?
Well, it's you got to temper it because we're just so used to Burrow doing just stepping in and do. I just think
Mhm.
back to last year, Marissa. The guy didn't have a preseason. Hadn't been with his with his receiver very much, and went out there as a rookie in his first NFL game and nearly brought him down the field with a last minute drive. I mean, geez, was what AJ Green, was it any more egregious than what happened in the Thursday night game?
Mhm.
So Burrow, I think we've come to expect the unbelievable from him, but we also got, I think, remember, he's coming back from a major knee surgery. So, and Zach Taylor knows that, Brian Callahan knows
Mhm.
that. So I'm not. While I think Burrow is going to be as good as ever. I think we might be seeing him. They're going to make sure that they don't. That they don't expose him that much to a Mike Zimmer defense.
You're right. We're getting a chance now to watch some of the players take the field for warm up here at Paul Brown Stadium. And Joe isn't the only one. Joe Burrow isn't the only one that's going to be back out there. Another Joe Mixon returns. You're also getting CJ Uzama back, DJ Reader, and Trey Hopkins. So a lot of guys who are key starters for this team going to be going back out there in week one. And Jeff, when you look at a guy like Joe Mixon, so integral to not only, the run game, but going to be used quite often in the passing game as well. How do you think he stacks up against this Minnesota defense that, really kind of revamped itself in this last offseason?
Well, as you know, no one is more passionate than Joe Mixon. No one wears his heart in his sleeve like Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
You have got to believe that he is jacked up for this one for many reasons. Mainly because he didn't play the last 10 games, but he's also going against Dalvin Cook on the other side of the ball, the Vikings running back. The Bengals made a trade in 2017. Joe Mixon was their guy all the way. Big back, 6'1",
Mm-hmm.
225. The Bengals have loved big backs ever since before they were born, when Paul Brown saw championships won with big backs on slippery fields. So they traded with Minnesota. They thought, they knew that Minnesota also needed a running back, and they had an idea that they were going to take Dalvin Cook. They wanted Mixon, and that's the way it worked out. The Bengals traded back, got an extra fourth round pick. The Vikings got their guy in Cook, and Cook has been terrific, 1,500-yard guy, and Joe's been good too. But the injuries last year and the struggles in the win column, people have kind of forgotten about Joe Mixon. They talk about protecting Joe Mixon. There's your guy who's going to protect Joe Burrow. It's Joe Mixon, and he's going to. I know he's really looking forward to that matchup today with Cook. And let's face it, Marissa, whoever wins the game today, their running back is going to have the better day.
Could not agree more. And we'll come back to Cook in just a bit. But, last time Joe Mixon was out on the field, 151 yards rushing, 3 total touchdowns. The last time he was on the field here at Paul Brown Stadium. we're getting a chance right now to watch some of the secondary players warm up. Right there is Chidobe Awuzie. What kind of task is it going to be for this secondary? Trying to contain some of those Minnesota receivers. I mean, Justin Jefferson had a phenomenal rookie season, and I believe it's going to be Eli Apple matched up against Jefferson. Is that correct, Butch? Now that Trey Wayne's going to be inactive
I think
today.
so. I think so. We'll see how Lou does it. He usually likes to keep the guys on the same side. Uh, but they will have they will have bigger challenges. Those two receivers are about as good as a duo as it gets. But after that, they're not. They're kind of in flux with their number three, and they don't use. I think the fellows said this on the pregame that the Vikings used the three receiver set fewer than anybody in the league. So they're going to come at you with those two receivers. And while they're good, I'm not sure there's much behind them. So, and it is a task. And they wish they had Trey Waynes, their starting corner, who was out with a hamstring. But this is why they got Eli Apple. This is why they signed Eli Apple. I mean, he's a former first round pick. He's on his fourth team. He's looking for a home. He's obviously got the talent. So nobody had a better camp than Awuzie. So, I think they probably match. It's a tough challenge, but to me, the challenge with Cook is probably tougher than it is with the receivers.
Absolutely. Chidobe Awuzie, Mike Hilton, Eli Apple, all making their Bengals debut this afternoon. And Butch, Dalvin Cook, I know we've talked about him a little bit. This is why the Bengals brought in the guys on the defensive line and Larry Ogunjobi, Trey Hendrickson. They're getting DJ Reader back. A much improved defensive line than a year ago. But what are they going to have to do to really, limit and contain Cook best they can?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. That's why these moves were made. The last 3 years, the Bengals have given up the most rushing yards in the NFL. That's why they made these moves. What they have to do today, clearly they have to shut down that wide zone. The Bengals know all about that because Frank Paul runs it. Cook runs it about as well as anybody in the league. And I found it interesting that they did sit down Tyler Shelvin, the rookie massive defensive tackle from LSU, and they have up Wyatt Ray, who's a defensive edge player. To me, that kind of that indicates they really want to set the edge there. And this thing's going to be getting near 90 degrees. They're going to rotate. So it was interesting, and you would figure that the big guys would need to get relieved more in this hot day. You figure Shelvin would be up and Ray would be down, but I think they think that this thing is going to be decided on the edges with Cook, and that's what they have to do, Marissa. They got to stop that wide zone. They got to make sure that they gang tackle him because this guy, he darts. I was talking to Paulie Gunther, the former Vikings defensive coordinator, who is now Mike Zimmer's senior defensive assistant. Was talking to him before the game, and he said Cooks is about as good as he's ever been around because he's so quick and he darts. So you're going to have to. To me, it's also a huge game for Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, the two Bengals linebackers, who they really think and are really banking on to take a step. And this is why they got these guys. It's games like this that they got them.
It is. And another, guy I'm eager to kind of see out there is rookie Cam Sample. He had a pretty nice preseason. And, I would expect that, he's going to get called upon in that rotation as well this afternoon, Butch. But you mentioned Mike Zimmer and Paul Gunther, both former coaches here on the Bengals staff, spent a lot of time here in Cincinnati. What can you tell us about kind of Mike Zimmer's coaching style and maybe is there any familiarity left that, could kind of give him an advantage at all?
Well, I think Zim's going to come at you no matter who we've seen him shut down the best in the game out here in this stadium. Tom Brady went 1 for 12. I think Aaron Rodgers had a passer rating of about 58. He comes at you. It's the same thing. They're going to cover you on the outside. He's going to do games up front. He's going to make sure you don't run the ball, and he's going to make it ugly. It's going to be a slog. It's going to be a grind. And, the guy who could probably tell you best about it, the only guy who was left really from that scheme that Zimmer and Paulie G used is really Trey Hopkins, the Bengals center. They run that double A gap blitz at you, which puts a lot of challenges on the quarterback and the offensive line to read what's going on. Every gap is covered. That's what Trey Hopkins was talking about is not only every gap is covered, they and this is what they do up front too. They disguise things, and they do it in the back end too with Harrison Smith, the safety. So
Mm-hmm.
Trey is about the only guy left that can tell who really lived it. But Burrow's seen enough tape, and certainly Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan have gone against enough of Zimmer's. I mean, Zach went against him when he was with Miami when he came here. So that's just what you're going to get from Zimmer, Marissa. It's just going to be it's going to match the weather. It's going to be grindy, gritty. He's going to make sure that the quarterback doesn't go off.
Well, another part of, Zimmer's defense that they kind of, overhauled, they brought in 3 new cornerbacks into their secondary, Patrick Peterson being one of them. For Joe Burrow in this offense, Butch, how important is it going to be for them to, spread the ball around to their top 3 receivers? And do you look for them to kind of get Jamar Chase going early and maybe get him a couple targets his way?
Yeah, I think so. I still think the big thing here is the running game because I don't think they want to drop Joe back a lot against the Zimmer defense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think you're right. Well, they're still going to go 3 receivers. That's their bread and butter. And they got to get Chase going. I think that's for his mindset. I'm sure, and for them. I'm sure the only guy that doesn't have a problem with Jamar Chase is Joe Burrow. That's the great thing about this connection, about what they lived through during a national championship season. I can see these guys, it's not going to take much for them to get going. And I think that's what they need. I think they need reps. I mean, they've played 3 snaps together in the preseason, and everybody's kind of going nuts about Chase's 4 drops. And I can understand why there would be some angst. But let's let him play 60 snaps in 90 degrees, and then let's make the call. But I think you're right. Wouldn't be surprised. First series of the game, probably like what they did in Tampa. Got that thing to him right away. Had a nice 13, 14-yard pickup on a screen. Wouldn't be surprised to see that going.
Will certainly be a nice sight to see Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase out there. And Butch, as we've been watching, some of the players go through warm-ups, we've gotten some shots of the fans out in the stands as well. Bengals fans, it's absolutely incredible to be having everyone back here at Paul Brown Stadium, expecting a great turnout this afternoon. I mean, how exciting is it for us to, start to get back to a little bit more of a sense of normalcy and really have the jungle roaring this afternoon?
I tell you what the Bengals have done. And you guys have been involved too, Seth's department. Elizabeth Blackburn has driven it, but it is clearly there's a difference out there in the stadium. Mm-hmm. You can sense it. And even Paulie G kind of said something about it too. And in fact, I think he ran into Elizabeth on the field before the game, and they were chatting. And he said, "Boy, she's excited." And yeah, she's had that and that. But Paulie, she's been like that for 2 years. So, and that's I think that's the way the fans are. I mean, you can tell, you can sense that just the way the stadium is presenting itself, and you get the stage there, and you get the jungle motif, and you get that. What I like is you get that orange Ring of Honor looming, yet to be carved in. You know it's going to go there. You can't wait for Thursday night, but let's get some Ring of Honor performances today. Get going on the next Ring of Honor.
I like where your head is at, Butch. And also, the ruler of the jungle this afternoon will be the Bengals' first ever draft pick, Bob Johnson. He will be leading the fans out with the Who Dey chat. It's going to be absolutely great from Paul Brown Stadium. Kickoff is coming up at 1 p.m. We hope you're going to be joining us here. If not, you can listen in to Dan Horde and Dave Lapham on the Bengals Radio Network. You can also tune into Fox to watch all of the action live. For Jeff Hobson, I'm Marissa Contepelli. Thanks for tuning in to our Tri Health pregame live stream.